Morgan Rogers to Arsenal is apparently taking a significant step. Martin Ødegaard could be departing, and there's plenty to discuss and get into. Smash the like button. Let me know your thoughts initially. Subscribe if you haven't. If you give me a second, we'll share the screen and we'll go over everything. Now, as I always say, for me personally, David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, hand of Arsenal, primarily where Arsenal's concerned. If I don't see them not talking about nothing, or if everybody's been speaking about a Morgan Rogers and we need the deal to move significantly until these individuals decide to offer some opinions, then it really just stays as a talking point. I personally believe until players are holding shirts, so don't get excited. The dream is free, the house was sold separately. That being said, though, let's pause this because we don't need any copyright issues on YouTube. Exclusive by hand of Arsenal. Arsenal will officially open talks with Aston Villa to sign Morgan Rogers in the coming weeks. Hopefully that's in the next 10 days for me. There's a real willingness from the English champions to get a deal done at a reasonable price. Fee will be key. Personal terms are not an issue at all. So personal terms are not an issue. Arsenal want Rodgers. Rodgers wants Arsenal in what we're led to believe. But it comes down to the fee. Now, it depends how you look at it. Aston Villa allegedly got some financial issues, have to sell. Their wage ratio is out of control. Morgan Rogers is going to be their highest earner. He's had a great Premier League. He's won the Europa League. He's scored some goals. He's had 2 good seasons in terms of output. He's currently at the World Cup where he'll play some level of a more significant part. I think I speak for everyone when we watched England in the second half. Obviously, big up Spence, even though he plays for them lot, but he was an Arsenal fan growing up. But to see Saka, Rogers and the combinations, it made you think, oh, and I'm on Rogers. I think off the ball, Mikel Arteta will like him and want to mold him into something. I think, obviously, if you was to name, as I've said before, both Arsenal's strongest 11 and what you believe would be Arteta's strongest 11, you'd probably get slightly different changes. But right now, it probably looks like Rodgers would come in off that left-hand side. For me, I think he'll be groomed into that central role. I think off the ball, he'll do a lot better than Eze. I love Eze, of course. You know, Ødegaard, we need a season, and Ødegaard's being linked with an exit. We'll get onto that. Obviously, there's competition for places, but if you could have Ødegaard, Eze, and Rodgers top of their form, all can play in different roles. Great. So I think he could play in that. He can. It's not even that I think. He can play in that 10 role. I do think you'd see him play as a false 9 on occasion. I'm not saying consistently, but that is a little like what you got with Kai Havertz in it. I think Rodgers got the capacity to do that. I think Arteta will love him in that. But primarily in that 10 role, long term, I think he could even play with or in place of Rice, depending on how you look at it in the pivot positions off the left-hand side. That seems to be the easiest entry. And he's played plenty of times for Aston Villa off the right. So I wouldn't underestimate that, to have Saka back firing, doing what he's doing, young Max Dowman probably getting in off that right-hand side, Morgan Rogers, and obviously you got Madueke mixing and blending. I'm all for this. Now, I must admit, I think the club have earned my trust and my patience as much as a fan with my fan cap on. Yo, get it done, get it done, get it done. We've seen moves happen before the World Cup. No doubt going to happen after. You've seen a lot of movement during the World Cup. And obviously, just as a fan, you want to see this confirmed, innit? He did sign a new contract at Aston Villa for about 4 or 5 years. So it's going to come down to the fee. If you're Aston Villa, if he said, I only want Arsenal, then great. But if, Arsenal walk away at some point, or just in general, you've got an appreciating asset, he's linked with PSG, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Liverpool. Obviously, some of these links are more stronger than others, but the point being, you've got multiple people interested in one party that's at your club. You're going to drive the bargain. I think based on reports, if we could get for 85, 90, ideally, I'd imagine it would be slightly less than Declan Rice. If you're Aston Villa, you're trying to run this up to 100-odd million quid in it. So we'll have to see him. We'll have to see the ramifications. Like, do you not think we'll get Rodgers and an out left winger? Seems like it's gone a bit cold where that Greek youth at Club Bruges, and we're linked with Bacola. Nothing really going on there at this moment. So it is what it is. Hand of Arsenal once again said we'll open talks. There's a willingness to complete the deal. Personal terms are not expected to be an issue. Craig Hope of the Daily Mail. Arsenal are looking to add around 4 or 5 quality signings this summer. Rodgers is viewed as the priority, but they also want a striker with Julian Alvarez admired. Bring Krupi. Arsenal have been offered the chance to sign Christos Zelosis, but have spoken to other wingers as well. They also admire Alex Scott and want another defender. Music to my ears, people. Sammy Motebell, my understanding is that Morgan Rogers is a player that Arsenal would like to sign, and lots of groundwork has been done to try and get this into a position where it's doable this season. If Arsenal were to formalise the interest now, during the World Cup, it's a deal I believe he would like. If a deal can be done between Arsenal and Villa and it can be agreed, I think he'd jump at the chance to join. And so he's also said we're looking at a left winger. That might be an area Arsenal are willing to go over and above what they would want to spend to get the right players. Because on paper, I don't know what that's there, but on paper, what? Rodgers can play there, Eze can play there. On paper, keyword, you got Trossard, you've got Martinelli, who's really that left. Even if you get that Greek lad, there's across the season can all mix and blend. But But who's that one you bet your heart on? Seems like Jeremy Monga, speaking of wingers, is ticking over into the right direction. My understanding is that there's a broad agreement in place to sign Jeremy Monga. The player wants to join Arsenal. All that now is left is to complete a deal with Leicester, but there'll be a level of complication with that. I think there's a little bit to go for Monga to become an Arsenal player, but I'm pretty certain he'll be one by the start of pre-season, certainly in the coming weeks. Do you think even Wanyeri will be at Arsenal next season? And it's a shame, man, because I would love him to be part of the squad next season. I think he needs to go out on loan and get some minutes. This is an Arsenal player. They might see this as someone to bring money in. I don't think he will. There's a will from Arsenal to, at the very least, listen to offers. I think he'll want regular football next season. I'm not sure where he fits in, people. There has been some whispers over the summer that Arsenal might be interested in letting Ødegaard go for the right price. Again, right price. There's players I would define as untouchable at the club right now. Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, Jiri and Timber. Don't know if I said it. Declan Rice might be missing some else out. Lewis Skelly as well, I think, has crossed over to that because he shaved his kind of career towards the end of the season. Then I think there's players who obviously need to go. Reece Nelson, Gabriel Jesus. There's a couple of others. Then I think there's players that need to go / available for the right price. I wouldn't say Ødegaard needs to go, but at the end of the day, he's on big money. We've handed out new contracts. We brought in new players. The pathway has to be kept for Wanyeri. You got Eze, you got Rodgers. So I will be looking at the next year or two with Marino, with Kai Havertz, and obviously with Martin Ødegaard, because he's got 2 years left. He is the captain. Not sure on the message of selling your captain during winning the Premier League, but end of the day, if you get Rodgers, if you get Eze, if you want to keep that pathway long-term for Wanyeri or a Dalman, you get where I'm going, in it. It could get dark. You did get Ødegaard for 30 million euros. We all know transfer fees have gone a bit mad, but there's something wrong if you can't at least double that and get 60 million euros, if not more, people. So would you let him go for the right price? And I think he's, Ødegaard, I think, is available for the right price. Ben White, I think, is available for the right price. To a degree, a bit different, but similar with Martinelli and Trossard. I think those are players people listen to, really. So we'll have to see exactly what's going on. But what do you lot make of that? Motbell also said, I expect there to be at least one high-profile departure at Arsenal. There's a focus on outgoings given the spend last season. People will say we don't need to sell. You don't need to sell, but it's prudent to do so. So we want to sell, which I think you need to do. We will need to look after our wages and whatnot. I remember last summer, Sammy Motbell came out with an article and said Kai Havertz could be someone that goes. Now, a year's moved on, but Kai and him are on big deals. And, we brought in Gyökeres and Eze. They're on big money. On paper, you're still spending whatever you're spending weekly on Gabriel Jesus, on Reece Nelson, on Fabio Vieira. You get where I'm going. We've handed Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, Wanyeri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Bukayo Saka new deals. We brought in people, the Zubis of this world, the Ezes of this world, the Gyökeres of this world on decent money. There's talk of giving Raya a new deal, well deserved. Got to pay him handsomely. Timber, new deal, well deserved. Got to pay him handsomely. Declan Rice somehow got even better. Got to pay him handsomely. So you look at the wages. I think we want to sell and we want to be a bit self-financing. The next steps for me, is improving our loan system, improving our academy, and that you get them talents that could be brought low, sold high, or people that could progress to the first team from all corners of the world. And obviously getting better at selling, because initially during our Emirates era, we were good at selling. Now we're not really good at that. So I do think that's an area that we need to get under control. And naturally, like, a lot of this squad has been together for anything from 2 to 4 years. There is that element of that, people. So we're going to have to wait and see. Meltbell said, I think Arsenal wouldn't sign Rodgers and Bacola in the same window. Never say never, but it'd be difficult to do both because Arsenal have other areas they need to strengthen. They need a fullback and a central midfielder. They've been alerted that Bacola might be able to leave PSG this summer if Rodgers' deal doesn't come off. He may be one they look to accelerate. But out of the two, I think they're more focused on Rodgers, people. Don't know what that is. We have been linked with Somerville, and we've joined the race to sign him. He could be available for 50 million euros. That's expected to go up owing to his exploits at the World Cup currently. Declan Rice has complained about the amount of games, and we're going to need to be a bit cute and clever because every player put their body on the line, but Timber's missed the World Cup. Saliba's playing through pain for France. Saka is on a specialized training drill. And obviously, Rice has come out with, he's been carrying a hamstring injury for 6 months, definitely not 6 years, with a back issue. So, listen, you can't prevent it. Players of this ilk that play for club and country, unfortunately, they're looking at 70-odd games. But these are things that could bite us on the arse, and it probably isn't sustainable. And you do wonder, not just for these players in question, but the whole footballing landscape. Apparently, Declan Rice is being used to help sign Rodgers. Now, obviously, Berta's going to liaise with the Villa counterparts. Arteta, via some communications, whether it's via agents or whatever, set up a meeting with Rodgers or some level of communication and gauged his willingness. Now, when you get beyond how Arteta's pitched Arsenal to him, Rodgers' willingness, personal terms, what he can do for you as a player, what you could do for us. When you get beyond that, of course, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, Eze, Noni Madueke. And when these lot signed, we probably used others. I'm probably talking to them, yeah, you joining Arsenal? Yeah, these are things that it sounds cool, but it happens in football anyways, and not just at our club. Bawardi shouts, gone a bit quiet, people, but apparently Real Madrid have joined the race for the £60.6 million rated midfielder, 70 million euros, being linked with all of these clubs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Real Madrid, as well as Paris Saint-Germain. People, we're going to have to go and see. But there's also conflicting reports that Jose doesn't want any more emerging talents. He wants win now mode, in which you can't, Bawardi's played 90 odd times for Lille. He's playing for his country. Age is relevant and prevalent, but he's mature beyond these years. He's one of those that, like we've got Miles Lewis-Skelly, we've got Miles Lewis-Skelly. They've got Leo got a Bawardi, Warren Zaire-Emery, and that they are young and it's relevant, but they're not essentially young players. They're just genuine first teams options, if I'm completely honest. I would love Bawardi. Seems like the Tonali stuff has gone quiet. Nico Williams, who I must admit, I don't really want you to sign for us because you took us around the houses, but I'm doing my research on him. I can't lie. If he's available, it depends on the fee, boy. I wouldn't be against it. I'm not going to bother you lot with this yet. He's going during the World Cup. We all know he signed a new deal at Bilbao. He said he would spend the rest of his career there if that was the case. But if you could get a Bacola, Nico Williams, or Morgan Rogers, a defensive reinforcement, we've been linked with Minguesa once again, I believe, somewhere, people. Oscar, which could be a bit, a little cheap and cheerful signing for the football club. He's being linked with Aston Villa as well as Newcastle. I saw some reports that were linked with him. Again, it seems like those have gone quiet, but he could be a free transfer, someone that can play centre-half as well as, apologies, people, centre-half as well as right-back. Wanyeri's being linked with Newcastle, as is Cody Gakpo, Leandro Trossard, and Gabby Martinelli, people. So, silly season is started. This article, if it were load, said Arsenal need to sell before we buy Bacola. I don't subscribe to that. I think we want to sell before we buy Bacola or anyone that's not Morgan Rogers.